Okay, good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order. Mrs. Richards, may I have the roll call, please?
Yes, President Anderson. Let the record show that all 5 board members are present.
Thank you. I motion that the governing board adjourn to executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 and A4 for legal advice.
Second.
That was Mrs. Wade, a second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, I motion that we reconvene into open session.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Wade. All those in favor? Aye. Aye, motion carries 5-0. Okay, please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I motion to approve the agenda. Mrs. Van Hook got the second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Now we have the superintendent report with Mrs. Richards.
Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board. Tonight, we want to start out and acknowledge our A schools. So we've got banners up front here, and I'm going to ask Mr. Lotzenheiser and Mr. Armstrong to help me as we call schools forward. In alphabetical order, we need Bridges Elementary, Mr. Jeff Bickle. And Miss Elizabeth Melter. Congratulations. We're going to ask that you stay up here, all right? Oh, yeah, good idea. Next, we have Centennial Elementary. Miss Amanda Day and Mr. Eric Rogers. Chaparral Elementary. Miss Christine Hansen and Mr. Terry Pepper. Okay. Coronado Elementary. Mr. Brian Griggs and Miss Alice Storatini. Congratulations. Cortina Elementary. Miss Kelly Papke. Trade places with you. This is a problem when we're running out of room, right? Good job, Higley. All right, next, Higley Traditional Academy. Miss Karen Bacon and Miss Mandy Bacali. Congratulations. Power Ranch Elementary. Miss Michelle McNabb and Miss Nicole McCullough. Wait. Sossaman Elementary. Ha! Just a trick. Did you hear the sound effects from back here?
I'm pretty sure we're in middle school.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure Mr. Potts was paying attention. Sossaman Middle School.
Should I move them down to a bigger view?
Yeah, probably. He just looked confused. Surprise. Next, should I say Higley High School Elementary? Let's go, Higley High School. Mr. Allen Field. Stand corrected, the Higley High School. How about the Williamsfield High School? Principal John Dolan. You're going to have to do it. And this one really is an elementary, and I'm not kidding. Santan Elementary. Mr. Mercado? I think he was running late, but he's going to slide in here in a minute. And then, very importantly, we have a school district that is rated an A. That is a difficult accomplishment, so I need the governing board to come down and acknowledge this rating.
Meet 'em in the middle.
Yeah. Get hit in the head.
Pivot.
Like very confused.
Well, we do have a Southam Elementary. I mean, kindergarten.
Yes, we do. We do. Many of you know the Arizona Department of Education ranks school districts and schools, and to get a letter A is not an easy accomplishment. Our problem is we don't have enough room in this board meeting room to accommodate. So congratulations to all schools and the district. Wait, Principal Ray Mercado is here. Congratulations.
Can we go to the side so you can get all of them?
We're going to move over. All right. Congratulations, everyone. Some of the schools may want to leave. Otherwise, we're ready for Higley Adventures. I think so. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. We have some very exciting acknowledgments this evening. Technology. There we go. All right, this evening we have Williamsfield High School freshman Wrecker Ians. He's an independent artist, drummer, producer, and Emmy-nominated actor, musician, and was nominated for a Grammy for his role in the album Solid Rock Revival by Rock for Children. He's composed and recorded drums for many of the songs on this album, created in collaboration with teams from no other than Alice Cooper's Solid Rock Teen Centers, with proceeds benefiting these centers. The Grammys will be aired on February 2nd. We are so proud of this talented young man and know that he has so many more wonderful things in his future. On the next slide, we get to share a little bit of his talent with you, and I believe he's in the audience somewhere. So, Wrecker, when we're playing your video, will you come forward, please? Now it works too well. It's not playing. Can they play it for me? There. Congratulations. Thank you. So very, very impressive. I wish we had drums in here for you to play for us, right? Can you tell us what the most rewarding part of your journey has been?
The most rewarding part is having the support system that I've had, and like my parents and the school district. Like, it's just been amazing, like just being so cooperative of what I'm doing and with all the students. And it's like pursuing your passions while like missing school and trying to keep your grades up. So like, I just appreciate every single one of you, and just thank you for like just being there and supporting me. And same with my parents, just being surrounded by a great support system and being pushed on the right path is just probably the most, like, the best thing I could ask for.
So we're very proud of you. I think you have 3 principals in the room. Raise your hand if you were one of his principals. Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Dolan, and who? And Louisa. Good job. All right, we're ready for a picture.
That's awesome. I asked him who's one of these.
All right, next we have the Higley High School Thespian Celebration. In November, Higley High School's thespian troupe 6907 attended the prestigious Arizona State Thespian Festival, an annual event that brings together over 100 schools statewide to celebrate theatrical achievements and showcase students in various acting and technical competitions. During this event, Higley High School was selected to present The Outsiders to an audience of over 2,000 students from high schools across the state. This exceptional accomplishment highlights the school's commitment to excellence in theater, and Higley High School is thrilled to have been selected for this prestigious distinction. Not done yet. The school was also recognized for their outstanding contributions during the 23-24 school year and earned numerous accolades. For the 6th consecutive year, the troop achieved gold honor status, and for the 2nd year in a row, under the direction of Mrs. April French, they received the coveted Award of Distinction. This recognition places Higley High School among only 3 schools in the state to earn gold in all categories. So I believe Mrs. French and her team are in the audience, so we need you up front. Congratulations. Hi, guys. Do you want to say something? Do you want to say anything? Sure.
Put on the spot. I'm just so grateful to work with such amazing kids, and I love what I do. So thank you for having us here. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. All right. Now we have the Williamsville High School Marching Band State Champions. Where are they, Mr. Lotzenheiser? You need to do this for me. Yeah, you could be. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Can barely fit you guys in the room. Congratulations. I'm going to let you speak a little bit and tell us why they're up here.
Thank you all. We had a really successful season. We got first place for the Abota State Championships. And really, this wouldn't have come down. We didn't get here on our own just from the hard work. It's from the community that we have here in the Higley District, from our administration to transportation, getting us all the buses and trailers, and to get to all of our competitions, from finance to be able to help with getting new instruments when we need to repair those and also bring in new instruments with the HR department with helping our staff for getting the staff to support all the instruction that we have here, and as well as the board members and administration for continued support of the music program in the district. And also for the students and families that we have here, that it is without your dedication and countless hours that we put towards the program, we wouldn't have got to this point. So thank you for everyone here. It takes a community to get to where we got, and it is awesome. Thank you.
And thank you for the shirt. Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
super
guys.
excited. If you need other sizes, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay, next, Higley Leadership Academy. Our amazing Higley Leadership Academy district staff came together for a day of giving back. They rolled up their sleeves and spent the day cleaning up Gilbert's riparian preserve and completing various landscaping tasks. From picking up litter to landscaping maintenance, our team worked tirelessly to make the community a cleaner and greener place. A huge thank you to everyone who participated and made this project a success. Let's continue to take pride in our community and inspire others to do the same thing. And now, with our final meeting of the year, it is with a mixture of gratitude and admiration that we acknowledge the dedicated service of two members of our governing board, Board Member Christina Reese and Board President Michelle Anderson. Both Mrs. Reese and Mrs. Anderson have served our district with a level of leadership that is truly commendable. Anderson especially considering the roles on the governing board are entirely voluntary, right, guys? Their dedication and passion for education has made a great impact on our district, and it is my honor to recognize their contributions. So if you two will meet Miss Miller and Mr. Moore in the middle, I'm going to say a few more words about you to acknowledge you. Board Member President Michelle Anderson has led our district with pride, bringing her expertise as a longtime educator to every decision she makes. Her commitment to our schools is reflected in her family's journey, with both of her children attending Higley schools from kindergarten through graduation. Now she is back in the classroom. We know Mrs. Anderson's commitment to students will continue. Through her work and in the students she impacts each and every day. We are thankful for your leadership and dedication to the students of Higley. Let's give her a round of applause. Board member Christina Reese has been a pillar of our community, serving on the board for over a decade, without pay, right? With 3 children who attended our schools, her commitment to Higley is deeply personal. She is invested in our community, not only through the governing board, but as a Gilbert business owner specializing in early childhood education. She brought her expertise and servant leadership style to our district and to the countless roles she's played in organizations from Girl Scouts to the Chamber of Commerce. While we say goodbye to Christina's time on the Higley Governing Board, I am sure we'll continue to see her impact in our community. Thank you so much for your service. No, that's not how it works. And in addition, I'm going to have Cabinet come up here, so I don't know who's going to take the picture, Jessica. Hey, we're so... Curtis, good job, Curtis. They're both going to say something, so hang tight.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and congratulations to all the teams that were recognized in your hard work and parents for your commitment. I just want to say more about Christina than myself. She's kind of one that motivated me to run and to keep supporting this district. I worked 9 years in HR in this district. I taught for 3 years in this district. I've done crossing guard in this district, and now governing board. And it was one of the hardest things, but one of the best things. And it was a dream to do this, and it was a dream to serve this community. And I'm so grateful for everyone, the good and the bad. I'm grateful for it all. It helped me grow. It helped me learn a lot that I did not know already. Being a teacher, you think you know a lot and you know everything, because we like to put on that face like we do. But there's a lot we don't. So, Christina, thank you so much for your time. I'm trying to make her cry. Thank you for being such a... Thanks for being such a good friend. Thank you for being an inspiration and a true leader. This district is absolutely honored to have you and for your service. Mm-hmm.
Oh, now you're going to hand me the mic. You're going to say that stuff and then hand it off. That's not fair. I just want to say what an honor it's been. See, you started it. 12 years. Who's got the over-under? I see it. I see it. All the bets that go on. It's been an honor to serve this district for 12 years. Everyone's been great. What a great night to go out on with all of our schools. I just want to say thank you, and thank you to my family.
Congratulations. All right, we're ready for points of pride. All right, we need Centennial Elementary up here, Amanda Day and Eric Rogers.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. President Anderson and members of the board, we're really excited to recognize 4 really special individuals from our campus. This is one of the best nights for us. I wish we could do it every single board member for our campus because there's a lot of really good people to recognize. But without our teachers, our students, our support staff, our parents, and the community, it wouldn't be possible. So we're really excited, and we are going to start with our student, Point of Pride, Miss Nora Lacey. All right, so I'd like to share some words that Nora's 6th grade teachers shared about her, and you get to stay up here with me the whole time, okay? All right. So Nora Lacey is a dedicated and enthusiastic 6th grader who brings a positive attitude to everything she does. She approaches her schoolwork with care and commitment, always striving to do her best. Her friendly and kind nature makes her a wonderful friend and classmate, as she includes others and encourages teamwork. She demonstrates integrity in her actions, consistently making choices that reflect honesty and responsibility. Additionally, Nora shows great respect towards her teachers, listening attentively, and always following instructions. Her positive character, dedication, and willingness to participate make her a fantastic student to have in class. She truly enhances our classroom community. All right, and we're going to have Nora share who she brought with her tonight.
I brought my mom and my sister with me today.
You did great. Good job. All right.
All right, next we'd like to recognize our volunteer, Mr. Joshua Barr. So we're thrilled to recognize Mr. Joshua Barr as our Points of Pride volunteer. Josh currently serves as the communications liaison on our PTO and has recently joined Centennial's Site Council. He goes above and beyond to highlight the wonderful things happening on our campus and has been instrumental in supporting our first fundraiser of the year. His creativity and thoughtful approach to communication helps strengthen the connections within our Centennial family. We are incredibly grateful for Josh's willingness to jump in whenever needed, whether it's assisting with fun Friday morning donuts, late night cleanup after a pumpkin lighting, managing the PTO social media and website, supporting the Spirit Gear pop-up shops in the morning, and simply being an all-around genuine person. Josh truly is always ready to lend a helping hand in any way he can. Thank you, Josh, for all you do.
All right, and Josh, will you share who you brought with you?
Definitely. Got the wife and kids with me here, and without them sacrificing time with Daddy, this wouldn't happen. I would not be able to do all these things. So I appreciate the opportunity to serve, and thank you so much.
All right, next up we have our classified staff member, Mr. Brendan. Nice job, Brendan. All right, so I'd have something I'd like to read about Mr. Brendan from myself and Eric, and then his lead teacher in the classroom. She is out home with her baby. She'll be back soon, but there is something special she wrote about you too, so I will read that after. All right, so we would like to recognize Mr. Brendan as Centennial's Points of Pride Classified Staff winner. Mr. Brendan is a paraprofessional in one of our cross-categorical classrooms at Centennial. Mr. Brendan's dedication to his students and colleagues does not go unnoticed. His positive mindset, flexibility, and willingness to support each and every student in his classroom is one of the many reasons he is receiving this recognition. When you see Mr. Brendan working with his students on campus, both in the classroom and around the campus, you can see firsthand how calm, patient, and kind he is. Mr. Brendan is a natural leader in the classroom that makes decisions instructionally and behaviorally to support all of his students. He builds positive relationships with not only the students in his classroom, but also the students in other classes. Oftentimes, we'll hear the students shouting out, "Mr. Brendan, Mr. Brendan!" So thank you, Mr. Brendan, for all you do for your students and your class and the campus as a whole. We're extremely grateful for you. And then I would like to read a special message from Ms. Garcia, Mr. Brendan's lead teacher. So she stated, "I have had the privilege of working alongside Brendan for several years, and during this time, I've witnessed his deep passion for education, his genuine love for what he does. Brendan goes beyond helping students achieve their academic goals. He's patient, and a calm demeanor enables him to support students even during those challenging moments. He takes the time to understand each student's unique needs and preferences, using this knowledge to guide his instruction effectively. Brendan is a true pleasure to work with each and every day. I commend him for his exceptional patience both in and out of the classroom." Nice job. All right, share with us who you brought.
Sorry, a little emotional always. I brought my beautiful and very, very supportive wife.
All right, now we would like to recognize our certified staff for Points of Pride, Mrs. Susan Montenegro. For our certified Points of Pride recipient, we'd like to recognize Ms. Susan Montenegro. Ms. Montenegro is our dedicated second and third grade resource teacher whose unwavering commitment to our students' success is truly inspiring. She consistently goes above and beyond to ensure that each student's individual needs are met, thoughtfully tailoring her approach to provide the best possible support to her students and colleagues. Her skillful use of data to set goals and inform instructional plans speaks to her professionalism and focus on meaningful and measurable growth for each child. Her collaboration with grade-level PLCs is invaluable, as she brings insights and resources that enrich our entire teaching team and help us create an inclusive and effective learning environment. We are incredibly fortunate to have her on our team and deeply appreciate the difference that she makes every day. Who would you bring with you tonight?
My husband and my friends.
Congratulations, Centennial.
Oh, no.
out. I never know if IT's gonna, yep. All right, we're ready for HTA with Miss Karen Bacon and Mandy Bacali.
President Anderson, members of the board and cabinet, we are so proud to be here this evening to honor 4 amazing members of our HTA family. We truly are a family, and it shows by the turnout tonight for the love and support that we all have for one another. We're going to start with our very special student. Miles, would you come up here? And also, can I have Miles' teacher, Mrs. Gonzalez, come up too? So Miles' teacher wrote some really nice words that I would like to read for him. Miles is a wonderful role model in our classroom and all around the school. He's a great leader who sets a positive example for his friends by working hard, being kind, and always trying his best. Miles has absolutely thrived in 2nd grade and has made tremendous gains in all aspects of school. He lights up a room with his big smile, funny jokes, and awesome dance moves that always makes everybody laugh and have fun. Miles inspires everyone to do their best and brings so much joy to our classroom every day. And I got to see him be a leader in his classroom today when he found the elf that gets up into mischief every evening. He was the first to spot it and wrote amazing sentences and read the letter from the elf to the class. So good job. Miles, would you tell us who you brought with you this evening?
Mom and Dad and my 2 brothers.
Very good. And we also have a little special treat for dessert. Oh. Next, we'd like to recognize our amazing volunteer. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Stay up here, buddy. Our amazing volunteer, our PTO president, Ms. Kristen Lawson. Where do I start? Kristen, you're a point of pride for so many reasons, but you exemplify what it means to selflessly serve our school community. Despite working full-time, you consistently find ways to support our school, demonstrating unwavering dedication and care. Your contributions are vast and impactful, from spearheading community events that bring families together to organizing fundraisers that directly benefit our students. You lead with enthusiasm and a servant's heart. You also take great care of our instructional staff by working collaboratively with community partners to host staff appreciation celebrations throughout the entire school year. Your commitment goes well beyond our expectations, ensuring that every effort you make a positive and lasting difference. We are incredibly fortunate to have someone as passionate and hardworking as Kristen leading our PTO. Her energy, kindness, and dedication inspire us all, and we are so grateful for her service to our school. And would you tell us who you brought with you?
Yeah. I have the rowdy bunch in the back, my husband, my 3-year-old, and our 3rd grader.
All right, I am excited and truly honored to be able to be a part of this. What a great organization, all around. So this next person is our certified staff member. The name of the individual being recognized is Kimberly Paffenbarger, affectionately known as Kimmy. Kimmy is one of our first grade teachers, and Mrs. Paffenbarger exemplifies dedication and leadership at Higley Traditional Academy. As a first grade teacher, she inspires a love of learning in her students while consistently going above and beyond to support our school community. Her multifaceted role has made a tremendous impact on students, staff, and families alike. Mrs. Paffenbarger serves as the PTO liaison, fostering meaningful collaboration between parents, teachers, and administration. Through this role, she ensures open communication, organizes initiatives, and promotes parent involvement in ways that directly benefit our students. In addition to her classroom responsibilities, Kimmy coaches our elementary cheer team. Her energy and positivity motivates students not only to excel in cheerleading, but also to build confidence, teamwork, and school spirit. Her selflessness and unwavering commitment to the success and well-being of every student and colleague makes Mrs. Paffenbarger a cornerstone of our school community. And who did you bring this evening?
I brought my husband, he looks like a 1-year-old, but my 6-month-old son, and then my family.
Okay, and then next, I would like to recognize our classified staff member, Melody Olabrandi. Melody is the first friendly face that greets our school community when they enter the office, as well as the friendly and efficient person you speak to when you call the school on the phone. Throughout her 16 years of experience in the role of the school receptionist at Higley Traditional Academy, she has built positive relationships with both internal and external customers to provide excellent service. She is kind, knowledgeable, and efficient, and has a memory like no other. Her level of professionalism is unwavering, and we are so lucky to have her. And who did you bring tonight?
My daughter Erin and my wonderful HTA family.
Thank you so much to all of you and the impact you have on our community.
Reese.
Bring people up here. We're going to take a couple of pictures and take a couple of minutes for a break. So, and I mean like 4. So if you need to run to the restroom, please do. And if you're the photographer, please don't leave.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Richards, are you ready for some upcoming events?
Yes. President Anderson, we are all looking forward to winter break, December 20th through January 3rd. School resumes on January 6th. We have our district spelling bee at the HCPA at 5 p.m. on January 9th, and you're all invited to come. It's quite impressive. We have kids that know words and spell words I've never seen, so they're amazing. In addition, we have a parent event, One Pill Can Kill, in the district boardroom that same evening at 6. That concludes the district events.
Thank you, Mrs. Richards. Okay, we will, moving on to 5.1, the public hearing of fiscal year 2025 budget revision number 2. And we will now move to a public hearing for the second revision of fiscal year 2025 budget. Mr. Moore?
Thank you, President Anderson, members of the board. As you alluded to, tonight we'll be presenting the second revision for the 2025 budget, which is our current year budget. Just as a kind of a standing slide in my presentations is just to, is my Arizona School District budget timeline. I just kind of continue to put this in there to make sure the board is tracking where we are in our budget process. So just a quick reminder, we proposed and adopted our budget in June. We did come back to the board for a revision number 1. And if you recall, that was for a small SPED adjustment. So largely the budget that we're revising to tonight is still the adopted budget and utilizing a lot of the projected ADM numbers, estimated budget balance carry forward numbers. So keep that in mind as I navigate through the presentation. And then tonight, as you already alluded to, we'll be reviewing the 25 revised budget number 2. Some of the major highlights in this budget revision are a lot of the things that we estimated in the adopted budget, we are now reconciling and truing up to our current year. So there's a couple of reports that ADE publishes. These are public reports. But the first one is called the Budget 75. Essentially what that means is it gives us a prior year reconciliation report to what we finalized on our AFR. So where we ended the year last year, ADE basically reconciles that with our adopted budget, and we true up our numbers to that report. That report, basically what we take from that report is our actual budget balance carry forwards, again for M&O and capital. Those are two things we estimate in the adopted process, but now at this point in time with the AFR being complete, we can true up in this budget revision. One thing I will note, and when I get to my next segment, the reconciled FY24 ADM numbers were higher than what we adopted in June. And so annually, a lot of our numbers for students in building, basically in-person student learning, are finalized at 100th day. However, with an AOI program, that is based on average attendance throughout the whole year. Those numbers came in a little bit higher than what we anticipated, which is good. It is a net increase, but it's a net increase than what we adopted. So I guess in layman's terms, after all AOI minutes were turned in, we had higher ADM than what we anticipated ending the year on. So that's a net gain from prior year, but we adopted a lower year ADM because we didn't have those numbers at the time when we were adopting the budget in June. It'll make sense as I get to my next point, which is the budget 25, which reconciles current year ADM to what we estimated on our adopted budget. So we adopted a budget, if you recall, estimating 100 ADM loss. We looked at trending data. We realized we were starting to lose students at a rate, as of last year, it was about 1%. So we felt it was prudent to start to budget for a loss. So that was an estimated ADM loss of 100, or about 1% of our total ADM. Our actual ADM is down 381. That's about just over 3% from prior year, but the true budgetary impact is just from the adopted ADM numbers versus the reconciled 24 numbers. The next slide will show the math on that, but if you're trying to calculate this in your head and realize the math doesn't add up, it's because we adopted ADM numbers that were not completely finalized from ADE yet. And so a lot of moving targets there, and that's basically why school districts are current year budgeting. This is some of the challenges that we face when approving budgets and estimating budgets. So our true budgeted ADM loss, and that what we'll be revising to tonight, is 239.45, which is just under 2% from the adopted budget. On the third bullet point, we also the November election results. So that override phase down will begin in fiscal year 26. So that's July 1st, 2025. We anticipate having those discussions starting in January on how we'll address that phase down for fiscal year 26. That estimated reduction is about $4.8 million for that first year phase down. So there's just a graph trending with some trend line data of our ADM. Again, this is projected ADM. So as of right now, the budget that we're revising to is using ADM numbers as of November 15th. We'll have to do one more revision in May once we have our final 100-day ADM numbers. But as we're trending right now, we've known elementary, basically preschool through 8, is trending declining enrollment, right? There's low birth rates. Our kinder sections are lower year after year. And so that matriculation comes up the grades. As those kinder sections are lower, the next year the first grade sections are lower, and so on. So that was part of the reason why we started the budget for 100 ADM loss. And so you can see on the graph, that actually was a little bit faster loss than what we anticipated in the elementary section. In addition, on the secondary side, the 9-12, we've been seeing a steady increase in ADM. We did not foresee that kind of leveling off this year, but that was where we are trending right now, at a small decline at current year numbers. So how does that factor in with some of our neighboring districts? Across the state, and especially East Valley, most districts are seeing decline. We are not in an abnormal situation. You'll see Queen Creek, Benjamin Franklin Charter Schools, that's both their elementary and their secondary campus, are the only two really, I guess, East Valley districts that are seeing some growth. Queen Creek still has capacity being built out. We are landlocked in that sense. But if you look at Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, as well as Higley, all these districts are well above 2.5% in enrollment decline as of November. Some of our neighboring charters are losing at a faster rate. The Learning Foundation, which is off of Recker and Warner, almost 4%. And then Legacy Traditional, right across the street, is almost 5% loss ADM. I will note ALA, Gilbert, I can't pull their numbers because they report as under one CTSD number. So essentially, they have multiple campuses throughout the state. They report all that ADM into one summarized number. And so that ADM numbers are not readily or publicly available. In addition, Gilbert Christian is a private school, so that enrollment is not public as well, so I can't pull their numbers. So looking at the impacts of the ADM loss to our budget, again, I mentioned the budgetary loss is 239. That impact, if you run it through the state formula, is the next line, the revenue control limit. So you can see from revised to revised budget number 2, basically that's straight ADM loss, including some of the Group B losses. So that includes some of our SPED Group B weight, free and reduced percentage. All those are kind of summarized into that $91.1 million. That ADM loss equates to $2.3 million in basically budget capacity. The NMO no transfer to capital. In the legislative process going into this year, they appropriated one-time dollars for a DAA adjustment. How they are, ADE is appropriating that is appropriating it through M&O. So what that additional transfer amount is basically moving that legislatively approved one-time capital money from M&O to capital, because that's how they're making us do it. On the M&O override, there's some small reconciliation to true up that number. So 14.1 to 14.17, there's a $4,000 increase there. And as I mentioned previously, we estimated our budget balance carry forward and our adopted budget, which did not change from our revised one, of $23.1 million. We actually ended up slightly higher at $23.6 million, so that's a net increase of $491,000. Prop 123, there's no change in that dollar amount. We estimated that exactly as to what was appropriated. It's a little easier formula based on prior year ADM, so no change in that amount. But from basically our adopted budget, as I mentioned, the revised budget number one only had a small sped change. From our adopted budget, what we estimated in June, to where we are trending now with ADM, we are basically over budget $2.1 million. So with M&O, we do have a budget balance carry forward, so we will not be making any operational changes to our district at this time. We'll be utilizing the budget balance carry forward to absorb this loss in this fiscal year. On the capital side, you'll see a little different story. The district additional assistance, the first line, is a formula, basically much like M&O. The difference with that formula and how it's easier to calculate is actually based off prior year ADM. And so I mentioned earlier that the ADM from prior year was actually a little bit higher than what we anticipated, so you'll see that difference there. But typically we're spot on with that estimate because it's a prior year ADM calculation. So that increase is based on the ADM difference from what we adopted to what we've ADA recalculated. The M&O transfer to capital, as it just stated, the appropriated one-time DEA legislative adjustment for this year is being mandated through M&O. So we are just transferring that to put it where that was appropriate, that should be going for this year. The budget balance carry forward with capital, we take a more conservative approach. These are our larger projects. Most of these projects did not get expensed in prior year, but rather they got expensed in July and August as they were finishing up, whether finishing up prior to the school year, and some of those payments didn't take place until this current year and the start of the year. So that net increase is just strictly on obligations that we anticipated paying in prior year, but we actually paid in this year, so we're just recapturing the budget capacity in the tune of $3.5 million. That's basically budget balance estimated ending at $4 million, but where we finished actually was 7.5. And interest earnings is just truing that up. On the capital budget, there's one budget where you can actually capture interest earnings on your balance. And so we had an additional $18,000 in which we can capture in the budget. So the net change with the capital budget was $3.9 million. And that's really it. So really looking forward, we have, as I mentioned previously, in January, we intend to have our first discussions on our FY26 budget. We have limited budget or board meetings prior to March, in which we typically ask the board for tentative approval to issue contracts. And so we will get, on the January 14th meeting, we'll have some recommendations for our budget reductions, not only due to enrollment loss, which you can see we're over budget currently. So this would be recommendations for anticipated continued enrollment loss to 26, but also recommendations for our M&O override phase down due to that renewal being failing in this last November. On February 4th, we'll have a second review. We'll look to finalize those recommendations for the budget reductions, again, due to enrollment loss and override renewal failure. And then on March 4th, we'll ask our board for tentative approval so we can issue contracts. Contracts are now statutorily, they gave us a date now, so all districts are on the same playing field, but all districts now cannot issue contracts before March 15th. So that kind of gets us all on the same playing field, but we'll still need some board approval to issue contracts, or board approval prior to issuing contracts. And then in April, we'll bring forth the first review of the capital budget. This year, I'm kind of phasing these two conversations. I think they're drastically different conversations this year with the override not passing. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
No comments from the board? Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore. It's going to open up now for the member of the public that would like to come up and give or provide any comments. Okay. All right.
President Anderson, Mr. Moore, other than the fact that we don't have any, we're running out of space for more homes to be built within the district, and obviously competing with ESAs and birth rate, but like as far as the drop, do we have an idea of, just based on like parents who have disenrolled, do we have an idea of like reasons why we dropped so much in ADM?
Like I said, we're seeing lower sections at our kinder levels. We started seeing that trend last year, and so as that attrition's up, our grade levels, there's not more students to capture. If our kinder grade levels say are at 500, but our first grade section's at 600, you already have a built-in net loss of 100 going into next year. So that is the biggest trend that we're seeing, is that just lower, that's basically littles. We're seeing lower enrollment at our elementary levels, and that's just now matriculating up our grades and through our district. So,
President Anderson, Mr. Moore, I understand with like kindergarten enrollment might be down due to students not enrolling at, but as far as the higher grades, from first to sixth, if we've had any students that have left the district, is that something that we've been tracking to understand what the trend is that's causing that to happen?
Yeah, President Schultz, Member Hook. I mean, we have enrollment that fluctuates daily of kids who transfer in and transfer out. We do ask for that information, but sometimes parents aren't truthful or they don't give us a reason. We don't mandate it, nor can we, I think, mandate if they unenroll that they have to fill out something telling us where they're going. And so it's oftentimes when it's voluntary data that we don't get much feedback in that sense. So, but there's nothing that's trending that's screaming out this is why people are leaving.
Got it. Okay.
Granular reason that our team has seen.
I mean, it would be great if everybody can fill that section out, on a exit survey, just to be able to understand any trends that are out there. But obviously, it's not matter.
Love that, so we can have some idea of how to address, right, if they're leaving for a reason. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will now reconvene in open session. And next up is 6.1, the request to speak. If we could go ahead and play the video.
We value input from our constituents. This time on our agenda has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Those that wish to speak should have filled out speaker cards, which are due prior to the start of our meeting. Members of the board may not discuss, comment, or take action on matters raised that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01I, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Also, we ask that audience members practice proper public meeting decorum, refraining from either negative or positive responses, including clapping or verbal outbursts, to ensure fairness to all points of view. Those that refuse to follow these rules may be asked to leave. In accordance with Policy BEDH public participation at board meetings, if considered necessary, the governing board president shall set a time limit on the length of the comment period in order to ensure that each individual has an opportunity to address the board. The president may also set a time limit for individual speakers. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay, first up we have Taylor Francis.
Madam President, members of the board, my name is Taylor Francis, and I am the parent of 2 kids in Higley schools. For the last year and a half, I have been a fairly outspoken critic of the district, both constructive and positive. Tonight, I wish to highlight one of the least talked about departments within the district that plays a very important role: transportation. Each school day, about 3,000 Higley kids utilize HUSD buses. That is 1/4 of our students, or enough to fill this room 15 times. Each school day, our buses traverse about 1 mile per riding student, which is the distance from here to Hawaii. And we accomplish this with only 46 buses. None of the numbers, by the way, include field trips or other special activities. This is simply the regular daily usage. In the last 7 years, the Higley transportation team has never once had to cancel a day's route. Busing students to and from school is not required by the state and is a service offered by the district as a convenience. The average age of our fleet is 12 years old, and the oldest bus has over 20 years. The recommended lifespan of a school bus is 5 to 6 years. School buses are not built with air conditioning, and there is no requirement to have one on board. But Higley invests the money to outfit each and every of its buses with AC for the safety and comfort of our students, something that not every district in the valley does. Because busing is not mandatory, each district is allowed to set a walk distance, or the distance from a school where buses will not run, and forces parents to find their own way to get a child to school. Higley is the only school district in the area that has not increased its original walk distances, which other districts have done as a means to cut costs. Unlike charter schools, public districts must account for every single mile driven to receive funding. And the cost of driving students to certain activities, such as EVIT for CTE programs, are not covered. This extra cost is absorbed by our district as a convenience to parents. Higley is the benchmark for school drivers. In a record-setting 4 weeks, Higley will take an adult with only a driver's license, get them their CDL, school bus certificate, CPR first aid training, complete drug testing, and get them certified with the state. And certified with the state and on the road. The quality of our program is so high that Higley is the only third-party testing site authorized by the State Department of Motor Vehicles to certify bus drivers, and other school districts send their own drivers to us to get certified. Our drivers work some of the hardest schedules, known as split shifts. Their day begins early in the morning, and once their morning duties are complete, they go home for a few hours before having to return for round 2 and do it all over again. They take the abuse from rowdy students, angry parents, and aggressive drivers, and have nearly no recourse for student misbehavior. Yet they show up for work, ready to go, day in and day out. I had planned to highlight our transportation team back in October, but was unable. My original intent was to highlight that despite our bus drivers' cargo being far more precious and working worse hours, our drivers are paid $5 less than garbage truck drivers and gravel truck drivers, and to ask the district to consider a pay increase specifically for those in transportation. However, with the failure, I just wanted to highlight the wonderful job that our amazing team does, and I don't believe that they receive nearly the recognition that they should. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Sarah Jarman.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As a newly elected board member, I feel a strong responsibility to address a concerning trend I've observed recently: the unwarranted attacks on parents and community members on social media. These actions, particularly when perpetrated by individuals within our educational community, are deeply troubling and hypocritical. During my campaign, both my account and marks were unfairly suspended and removed, as apparently we were perceived as threats by some. Just 2 weeks before the election, our Facebook pages were also terminated and taken down, an account that I've had for many years. It was very disheartening to witness attempts to silence voices, especially through such hostility from adults. As role models for our students and children, it is crucial for us to demonstrate respectful and constructive behavior. I've noticed some of these individuals proclaiming that children are watching. If they truly believe this, then they should embody the maturity and integrity expected of adults, rather than engaging in hypocrisy. This behavior exemplifies bullying, a practice I firmly stand against. We would never tolerate such conduct from students, so why should we accept this double standard among ourselves? Our shared goal should be to foster a positive and productive educational environment for all students. Imagine the possibilities if we focused on collaboration and support instead of division and hostility. It is essential that we find common ground, come together, and move beyond pettiness. I think we all can agree on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I motion to approve the consent agenda items from 7.1 to 7.14.
Second.
That was Ms. Schultz for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Yeah. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. You're fast. With that, I want to thank the organizations for their gifts and donations. It was Sossman Middle School, I believe, that received a pretty large donation. And then Mr. Walker would like to make an introduction.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. With the approval of the consent agenda, I just wanted to acknowledge that we are welcoming Mr. Kenny De La Ora to the district office to serve as the Assistant Director of Student Services. Mr. De La Ora has a long history of campus and district administration, and we're excited to have him come on board to help support student safety in our campuses.
All right, thank you. Next are information items with 8.1, information relating to proposed engagement agreement with the France Law Group. And Mrs. Richards, would you please introduce?
Yes. President Anderson, members of the board, I would like to introduce Mr. William Shenoff. He's going to share information related to this proposed engagement.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is William Shenoff, and I'm an attorney with the France Law Group out of San Diego, California. I'm here to discuss with you litigation that I've been working on for the past 2 years, in which I represent over 1,000 school districts across the country in federal litigation against a number of social media companies, specifically Meta, which is the parent company to Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube. What we're alleging in this litigation is that these companies have intentionally addicted children to their platform, which have resulted in increased emotional health issues. What we have seen and what our experts have found is that over the past 10 years in which these platforms have been around, we've seen an increase in anxiety, depression, eating disorders, suicidal ideation, and sadly even suicide as well. In this case, we are trying to hold these companies accountable, specifically for the impact we've seen on our campuses. What we've seen is that districts have had to go and increase their mental health budgets, hire more staff. What we're also trying to do is be able to provide the financial resources for the school districts we represent to be able to provide those services in the future. In addition to the monetary compensation that we are trying to receive in this case, we are also trying to go and obtain injunctive relief from the court. Specifically, we are requesting from the court better parental supervision on these platforms, give parents the access to go and understand who their children are speaking with, how much time their children are spending on it. In addition to that, we are also going to try to get better communication between the public entities and these platforms to go and deal with when there's threats or posts on these platforms that are causing mental distress to the children. Finally, we want changes to the algorithm. Their algorithm has been created in a way to go and ensure that those that are using it are on it at a very excessive amount of time, which has been found to be correlated to the mental health issues we're focused on. This is not a class action. This is a multi-district litigation in which we are filing these individual lawsuits in federal court in the Northern District of California. As I said, we have been litigating this case for 2 years. Procedurally, we are past the motion to dismiss stage, and we are preparing for our first trial in October of 2025. Two things I want to make sure is clear. Right now, we do have the school districts that are going to be our first 12 trials. So at this time, we're not looking to go and have your district at this point be one of the trials, but in the future, that may be something that needs to be discussed. In addition to that, there is no financial risk for the district to join. That's because we do work on this case on a contingency fee basis, which means that if there is no financial recovery, then the district will be not paying any attorney's fees or reimbursing any costs. In addition to that, we have reduced our rate for our contingency fee. Normally that could be up to 40% of the recovery. We have reduced that to 25% to make sure that if there is a recovery, that a majority of those funds ends up going to the school. So thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? No? No, I think we're good. Thank you.
President Anderson, I do have one quick question.
Sorry.
Is there like a stipulation as far as what those funds from the lawsuit can be used on?
If there is a recovery?
Yes.
That does happen from time to time. Obviously, we're not there yet. We haven't discussed a settlement or whether, right now we're focused on going to trial. There are times where there will be stipulations to how those funds could be used. But in this case, even if there was a stipulation, obviously one of our main focuses is on staffing. So if there was that type of situation, I could see there being many ways that those funds could be used by the district.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
President Anderson, Member Van Hook too. There's also, that's one side of it. Then on the accounting side, we have rules and regulations with the Uniform System of Financial Records, in which we have to account for those funds too, which put them in a restrictive fund. So there's two parts to that. So just want to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was a good question. Okay. 8.2, the superintendent search survey feedback. We'll be hearing from Mr. Walker.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. Tonight, presenting a summary and recap of our superintendent search survey. Ms. Johnson's out under the weather tonight, so I'm helping to present that information to you all tonight. Where we're at on our timeline, November 19th through the 30th, the survey was open to our community, parents, staff, and students to be able to respond for what characteristics that they're seeking in our new superintendent. And so if we go to the, can you pass me the clicker? Sorry, I guess I'll go to the next slide. Where we're at in the timeline again today, we've begun the process in November. As a Human Resources Department, we are gracious that the board has trusted us to conduct an in-house search for our superintendent with the goal to execute that final hiring at the March 4th, 2025 board meeting to onboard a new superintendent for July 1st, 2025. The next important date on that timeline is December 19th, which would be a week from Thursday, is that posting is going to close. It's been live online, and it has been advertised in various places. And so if people are interested, that posting does close in a week. Where we're at with the survey. Again, the survey went out and it was based on the key responsibilities of the superintendent, and those are outlined in the job rec. And so leadership and vision, operational management, student achievement, community engagement, fiscal responsibility, and policy development and implementation. Implementation consists of the responsibilities that the superintendent is charged with taking on as they oversee the school district. So the first question was basically to identify your role within the community, and you can see on the results we had 678 responses to the survey. 66% of that made up of parents or guardians who were self-identified. Another 30% were school staff or teachers, with one student, shout out to that student, maybe a future president of the United States, had responded. And then community members and then other were rounding out the 678. And then the next question was to identify the affiliation within the school district. And so Higley High School, you can see is indicated with the red circle. They had the biggest representation with out of the 678, 187 of the responses came from somebody who identified with that campus directly. Question number 3 was asked to rank order most important, least important, the following areas that the superintendent should prioritize. The most important coming in is academic achievement and student success, with the least important identified as equity and inclusion initiatives. And then from that, number 2, fiscal responsibility and budget management, 3, facility and infrastructure improvements, and 4, communication and community engagement. And then question number 4 also asked to rank order leadership qualities. And so the highest ranked, so the result that had the highest number 1, and people who fill out the survey were asked to then rank. So what's your first choice, what's your second choice, third choice, and then basically repeat that. So the one, and this is listed as in order of highest to lowest as the most important leadership quality being sought. So the most important one came in as transparency and accountability, followed by strong communication skills, then decision-making ability under pressure, familiarity with Arizona education policies, experience with diverse students, and then the lowest ranked number 1 was visionary leadership. Question 5 asked for preference of prior experiences, and so 227 responses, or 33%, was a combination of both teaching and administrative experience was the highest sought after experience for the candidate. Then followed by some experience as a superintendent, 1 to 4 years identified, and then next was experience as a school principal or other leadership roles, and then finally extensive experience as a superintendent with more than 5 years of experience was the least desirable for the choices. Question 6 asked of how important it was for the superintendent to have experience within our school district or community. And of the responses, essentially 85% thought it was at least somewhat important, with the most being with the somewhat important category, or important, and then very important as 22%, with not important at all came in with 14% of the results. Question number 7 was an open-ended question, and this is just a summary of themes that were reoccurring throughout, and it asked for challenges that were identified, and it's summarized within categories, so finances, the override and bond, and then within that, salaries and wages, keeping quality employees, paying teachers more, infrastructure, replacement of buildings, maintenance and preventative maintenance. Another challenge identified was academics, including things like curriculum and improving test scores. School safety was identified as a challenge with violence, bullying, and student mental health. Enrollment, another challenge with the declining enrollment, the competition with school choice, as well as the voucher programming in our state. The governing board is a challenge in supporting public education, and then challenges within the community of divisiveness and the lack of trust. Question number 8, again, that's an open-ended question as well about what qualities and skills. And this is just basically a summary of reoccurring themes identified from those responses. And so they're listed as such: classroom experience, administrative and finance experience, public education experience, strong leadership, good listener, value people, people-focused, visionary, innovator, progressive ideas, creative thinker, dependable, humble, honest, supportive of employees, data-driven, ability to work with all, understanding, problem solver, open-minded, accountable, sincere, respectful and respected, common sense, hardworking, strategic goal setter, resilience, open door, high emotional intelligence, integrity, dignity, authentic, champion for students, trustworthy, positive, pedagogical knowledge, reasonable, rational, open to collaboration, service-minded, legal knowledge, policy knowledge, transparent. And then question number 9, again, another open-ended question: was anything that the board would like to consider for the superintendent? So current issues: cell phones, books, bond, override, special education, the vision for HUSD, challenges within public education, competitive enrollment, school choice, managing employee retention, recruitment, and wages, make decisions based on student outcomes, a down-to-earth individual, a superintendent that will rally with other superintendents for more state comprehensive funding, superintendent that will support stakeholders or serve stakeholders, and a superintendent that values safety for all children. And then question number 10, which was not shared tonight, but that was soliciting potential questions that would like to be asked of the superintendents. And it's not shared purposely because those questions may go into the application process. And so in order to maintain confidentiality with the employment process, they're not revealed for tonight. So that was question number 10. And that's just the summary of the survey.
President Anderson, is it possible to get all the results, survey results?
Yes, it's possible.
Okay, that'd be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll move on to 8.3, the rental price increase. Mr. Moore has information for us.
Good evening, President Anderson, members of the board. I'll also invite Gustavo Landero, this is our Director of Maintenance and Construction, to help us review the facility rentals proposed rates. So just a little background. Our rental rates were last updated fiscal year 2021, so they're over 3 years old. Rental prices, along with everything, are now well below market rate in several areas. And a part of this recommendation tonight in bringing forth these facility rentals is the need to realign some of the rental classifications to better support our facilities team and try to manage these, as well as being more transparent with our community and where they fall on the classification. So we are proposing basically 2 classes. We are currently operating under 4 different rental classes, one being teachers, staff, student groups. We have another students related to nonprofit organizations such as PTOs, boosters, youth organizations. We have another that's even in the middle of that, nonprofit organizations. And so we're trying to streamline this classification process to give us a little more clarification on where people fall, and as well as just simplify the process. And so you'll see that throughout this presentation. Just a little quick plug, more so for our community, but we utilize FMX as the facilities management company to register and rent our facilities. We have some directions there, really not intended for the board review, but really just a plug. If anybody's looking to rent from our district, this process is highlighted on our website, and we have various protections when a renter does rent from us. We have a liability insurance requirement, as well as an agreement that has been vetted by legal that kind of supports if there was anything to happen with that rental, that we have some coverage in terms of liability, reducing liability. Some rental revenue for the past 2 years. We've steadily increased our rental revenue, and a lot of that is just sharing what spaces are open to rent, kind of cleaning up some, I wouldn't say handshake agreements that were not exactly on our books. And so a lot of those has transpired into formalizing this process, making sure these renters are registered in our system. We have their rates as accounted for, and we're capturing that money via invoice process or not renting to these renters who are not paying. I think we've seen a lot of that. We continue to rent to people who have outstanding invoices. So we've established some processes to improve our collections and hold our renters accountable. But you can see from 22 to 23, the rental revenue was just under $250,000. And just this last year, we were just over $500,000. And so a lot of this revenue is money that can be used interchangeably between M&O and capital. We do provide 30% of the rental fee back to the site to use as they see fit. And then we utilize all this revenue to improve those areas that are heavily rented, as well as offset some salaries for custodial rentals, et cetera. And so as this increases, we're leveraging it in a fashion that is supporting our district and freeing up M&O dollars. Gustavo is going to highlight the two main changes that we have in this proposal.
Good evening. So the two main proposals that we have is to change what we do with our ball field lighting. So we increased that rate. Some of the things that we were seeing is the increase of utility bills and the increase of the rate that we're being charged. And so we just don't want to take that cost on as a school district. We want to try to maybe pass that along to the people that are renting our sites if we can. So those are very simple rates that we felt very necessary to increase. And the other part that we're not really increasing, we're initiating is labor rates that we want to start charging people for extra services when it comes to rentals. So for example, if you're wanting to rent a soccer field and you want lines painted on it, we feel like that's an extra charge. It takes extra labor, extra material, and time. And so we wanted to just make sure we're capturing that and having some fee to offset some of those costs. I feel like what we did was look at other districts around us and look at what they're charging. And we obviously didn't want to go over any of those, but we wanted to make sure we were in line with everybody else and still competitive, but maximizing our profit.
So just elaborating on kind of those two specific areas, we looked at Gilbert Public Schools, Mesa Public Schools, Queen Creek, and you can see we use the Class 2 rate as an example on the far left of the category, so that's our current rate as it stands. And you can see how well below we are our neighboring school district, but as Gustavo alluded to, we are experiencing not only higher costs when we're turning on those lights with utilities, et cetera. And so on the far right is the new proposed rate for those two specific areas. And then on the bottom, how Gustavo alluded to, we're not currently charging. Now this is if a field is already lined, we would not charge a fee for that. But if somebody wanted to line that field that is not currently lined, right, we would ask our facilities crew to go out, line that, and that cost is not being accommodated in a rental. And so any ask, it's really in addition to using the facility is when we would ask to include this other rate. You see this a lot, for example, in tournaments, right? If a sports league is hosting a tournament at our softball field, they'll like clean lines, right? If they're just practicing, they're fine with the facility as is, but if they're asking for that additional chalked lines, painted lines, we feel it's reasonable to charge a fee to go and use our facilities department to line those areas and incur that extra work. Moving forward, so looking at our elementary proposal, I want to emphasize the Class 1 rate is currently just our teacher, staff, and student groups. So I couldn't put all 4 classes or else we wouldn't be able to read this presentation. But this Class 1 rate is going to look really low across the board. That's because it's just currently our teacher, staff, student groups. Our new proposal would be those groups be included in the new Class 1, but it would also encompass our boosters, PTOs, et cetera. And so this is part of our reclassification to kind of streamline this rental fees into 2 classifications. We still feel the Class 1 rates are reasonable. And I'm not going to go line by line, but you can see the fee increases from the Class 1 old rates, the Class 1 new rates, and then vice versa. Class 2 being, that's going to be our people for-profit sports leagues that are not associated with our district in any means. These organizations could be commercial business, again, for-profit. That would fall under the Class 2 category.
Yeah, we also have a lot of clubs, soccer, a lot of leagues that use our fields that are not associated with our school district. These are kids from other districts and other towns around us that come in and use our facilities. And so that's kind of where that lands as well.
So if there's any questions on elementary, if you look at some of the spaces that are commonly rented, would be our practice fields. HTA, considering that's our only elementary with a lighted field, is heavily rented. Our outdoor basketball courts are not, but occasionally when a PTO does a carnival, right, they utilize that space. And so that, as well as the parking lot, that's where that would come into play. We wouldn't just rent our parking lot to park in our parking lot. So some of these are self-explanatory to us, but I want to make sure that's prevalent to everybody reviewing this. If we look at our middle school, there's a few more areas that are rented, but again, across the board, we were low in pretty much every single area. The bigger increases coming in our lighted areas, our middle school softball fields with lights, and some of our field usage. And then on our high school, looks like some of the bottom is cut off. But again, a lot more spaces at our high school. We do work with our schools. With FMX, that's also the system that's used for our sports programs when they go enter their practices. So we would never double book in that sense, right? So if outside renter wants to use the varsity baseball field, but the school already has in the system their practices, we would not book that, right? And so oftentimes at the high school, it is we barely rent our facilities because our sports programs run 24/7, it seems like. And so really these are often rented in the off season, over breaks, et cetera, if there is any rental here. One thing we will be adding is our tennis courts. Currently, we do have a rental fee for those, but it's not currently charged. There is some difficulty right now with how they currently are operated because there is no lock on the gate, so the tennis courts are frequently used by the public at this current time. So going into next year, we would make some facility modifications to lock those tennis courts, and then unless they're rented, then we would have somebody there to open those. But they are being used at a rate that is increasingly high because they are free essentially right now, which is calling wear and tear. Nets are being abused, trash is being left. And so that is costing us money. And so to formalize a process and put those facilities, essentially have a formal process to rent those facilities, we would implement that in a more stricter fashion by making some accommodations to lock those facilities, but also have a rental fee that's established. And then the last little change, we've already highlighted the other rates, which would be associated with the ball fields. But the custodial fee, so any facility that is utilized where we have to open a bathroom, where we have to pick up trash, We do have a custodian that is there for the entirety of that rental. On the Class 1 side, that is typically waived because when an employee rents, they typically have a key for that space. And there is some agreement that the employee picks up after themselves. They leave the space as they found it. I do want to note, though, there hasn't been a case yet, but we do have in our agreement language that if that space is abused, say that employee rents it and they don't clean up, right, we do have, we'll have that conversation, and the next time, they'll recuse their right to have that fee waived if they can't maintain that space or keep it back, put it back to where it was originally. So there's a lot of information there, but if there's any questions, myself or Gustavo, and then we also have our rental specialist, Chris Good, here. We'd be happy to answer any questions.
President Anderson. Mr. Moore, can you clarify for me, because it's things we've run into in the past, the difference for an employee if they are also a club coach and they're running their club team out of our schools that are obviously not, they may have some of our students, but not all of our students. It's not a district. Where would that fall under?
So that would be a Class 2 rate under the proposed schedule here. We have, experienced that in the past where an employee would rent and it would be for their own for-profit program. With our facilities management or FMX scheduling, if the site administrator doesn't approve that practice, so if this is not a practice that with an AIA team or something that is district approved, that will notify us that, hey, this is not a practice rental, right? This is not a district approved group. So they would be then treated as a Class 2 rental, and that's at a higher rate. And so, we wouldn't be in a situation where we'd be having a gift of public funds or put ourselves in a situation where the employee is profiting off of the district's space.
Okay, and I was going to ask the same. In certain circumstances, sometimes private lessons are given in dance specific, other things, even coaching. Basketball, they'll do one-on-one lessons and they use our facility to do so.
Yeah, and I think relying on our athletic directors and our site administrators and making sure those spaces are used appropriately is some of the emphasis of this, but I think I reference back to our FMX system, and if that is not in the system and somebody comes across that, right, I think that raises a red flag. Or if we book a rental over that, say somebody's in the gym, we book a rental over that, then I think there's ways we can catch some of these things, but we do rely heavily on communication from our schools to ensure that they are following our processes and allowing our spaces to be either used for practice or if there is a for-profit that we are renting and following that rental process.
Okay, thank you. Can you please remind me when this is going to take place, if it were to get approved?
July 1, so it'd follow a lot of the other increases that we are currently bringing forth in front of the board. We've already made some implications into, in regards to the tennis courts. We're already planning on not only signing those, because I think several people have gotten used to using these facilities, but notifying those individuals like, hey, this is going to be a rented facility, not a free space. But we would have a leeway from now until July for those people to find new spaces or to formally register with us and rent the space. Okay.
And what was the thought process between Class 1 and Class 2? I'm looking at the high school right now, where it looked like, with the old rate, our employee PTO booster enrichment groups comparably, they were significantly less in some cases, and it looks like now with the new rates on both ends that the Class 1s are trying to get a little bit closer to the class 2s, but it seems like then that has put a significant increase on our class 1s, bigger change than for the class 2s. I'm just curious of the thought process for that, because it wasn't that bad before.
I'll let Gustavo answer too, but I'll point out too, the class 1 that's up here that's being advertised is basically the teacher, staff, and student group rate. There is a class 2 for our PTOs and boosters that's higher than that we currently have. I just couldn't put all these up there. And there's also a class 3 for nonprofits. And so I would say, how many rentals are being rented by employees right now?
We do have several, but ultimately, I think the old rates didn't really cover the cost that it takes to run the facility. And so really, that rate is set to just offset the cost of facility use. It's not really meant for the district to profit on it. And so that we just wanted to make sure that we're not losing money as a school district, right? That we're still able to cover the cost that it takes just to operate the facility during that rental.
President Anderson. Mr. Board, I think it's great that we're charging because to cover costs and wear and tear, as you mentioned. I just have a question on the tennis courts. Why aren't they locked, or why haven't they been locked for this time? Are there no gates? And do we have no trespassing signs or anything? I've never been to them, so I'm sorry.
Right now, currently, there is a gate, but it's not able to be locked. We have current practices where they've modified lighting to have a switch just publicly available. So we have to undo some of these things that have been basically in place. And so one thing is we're going to be addressing some of those. So, but these are practices as we're reviewing this, we found to be concerning. And so part of this process is to review these and address these going forward. So
some of the challenges there is that when they're not setting up a schedule for us to know when people are going to be out there and the school wants to use it for their kids and their clubs, then it creates this huge conflict between the community and our site. And so we're just trying to ensure that we're collecting money as far as whoever's using the facility, but we also want to make sure that we have a schedule in place and that the school has the option to approve or deny those requests as they come in, depending on if they're using the facility or not. And I know they have some new initiatives over there that they're trying to use that facility more. So we're trying to get it up to speed for them and get it updated and get it fixed up for them. But we also want to make sure that it lasts for a long time. So I think these are just old policies that were put in place from administration from before. And so we're just taking this opportunity to try to rectify some of those things.
Thank you.
President Anderson, Mr. Moore, do we not rent out our indoor basketball courts?
They're listed on there.
Oh, I did a search on the whole document. It didn't pop up. It just says outdoor.
Main gym or aux gym on this current slide.
Which slide, I'm sorry?
On the current slide, this is the high school. It's called main gym and aux gym.
So those are
Oh, main gym, okay.
And then on the middle school rates, it's called middle school gym.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our information items. We're going to move on now to our action items with 9.1, the discussion and possible action relating to proposed engagement agreement with the France Law Group.
Second.
Oh, wait, no, yeah, no, any questions or comments?
Never mind.
Okay. I motion to approve the proposed engagement agreement with the France Law Group for the France Law Group to represent the district in making claims for damages associated with social media litigation.
Second. Ooh, nice.
I'll give it to Amanda.
Oh, I said it prematurely, you know.
We don't have time for this. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Did you give that to me? I give it to you. Okay, I just want to make sure I write it down. Moving on to 9.2, the approval of the fiscal year 2025 budget revision number 2. Is there any questions or comments? I motion that the governing board approve the revised expenditure budget number 2 for fiscal year 2025 as presented. Second. I get that one, Mrs. Van Hook. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 9.3 is the second read and the approval of policy DJE, bidding and purchasing procedures. Are there any questions or comments?
President Anderson, the only thing I would like is, one of the answers was that the district can add this to the regulations. If we can just get a copy once the regulations have been updated. That's all.
Yes, okay, wonderful, thank you. I motion that the governing board approve the changes to policy DJE, bidding purchasing procedures. Ms. Reese for the second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. 9.4 is the approval of rental rate increase. Are there any questions or comments for this one? No. I motion that the governing board approve the rental rate increase as presented in the attached document for fiscal year 2025-2026.
Second.
That was Ms. Van Hook again. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to 9.5, the approval of the 2025-2026 course guides for high school, middle school, special education in the Higley Virtual Academy. Are there any questions or comments? I motion that the governing board approve the 2025-2026 course guides for high school, middle school, special education in the Higley Virtual Academy.
Second.
Is Ms. Wade?
No, that was short.
Oh, I apologize. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
President Anderson, I'd like to explain my vote. I did ask for the SPED course guide and the high school course guide to be listed separately, and they were not removed and separated. And unfortunately, due to my opposition to the Castle framework, I am voting no on the SPED due to the Castle. And then regarding the high school course guide, I'm really disappointed that we can't add some sort of an asterisk by the courses that would apply to sensitive, explicit material. And I didn't say explicit, just referencing sexually explicit, but just any explicit material, as most of these books do contain several different types of explicit material. So due to those reasons, I vote no.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries 4-1. Next is 9.6, the approval of preschool rates. Are there any questions or comments?
Mrs. Anderson, as I have in the past, I am going to abstain from this vote.
No other comments or questions? No. Okay. I motion that the governing board approve the proposed rates for preschool as attached.
Second. That was me.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention. Motion carries 4 with 1 abstention. Okay, moving on to 9.7, approval of community education kids club rates. Any questions or comments on this one?
Yes, sorry. That was very forceful, sorry, Ms. Sanders. I know that at our last meeting, we had discussed the changes for employees, and since our meeting, there have been some changes for that, and so I'm told that Mr. Armstrong has the information
Yes, ma'am.
on that.
President Anderson, Board Member Schultz, Community Ed and I are working together with our billing company to go ahead and figure out the best way to support this change. We know that this change is substantial for our employees, and it's a big change for them. So we are working on that change, and we will be communicating that tomorrow as we send a letter out to our entire staff, notifying them.
So the change as currently presented to us previously, or?
The change for
in the rate?
In the rate.
Okay. I think I thought that there was some differences on how we were going to be able to work with employees to not change it so drastically, but I'm guessing I misunderstood
So
that.
the rate change is going from.
Do we have a slide?
Yep.
Sorry, I can't find it. Thank you.
So the rate change is going to be a 20% discount, as Ms. Moore was describing last week or last month, in regards to the IRS compliance piece.
Yes.
And to continue living fiscally responsible. And we understand that that is a big shift. So that 20% discount is based on the current rate that is there. But as a district, we know that that's a huge jump for our staff. And so what we're looking at is how to support them in terms of billing and what that will look like to go ahead and take some of that ease off of them.
So Board Member Schultz, they're talking specifically about providing an hourly rate for employees only. So rather than a chunk of time, okay, like it's X, it's if you're there an hour,
Right.
you're there an hour, but it is an employee discount.
So if a teacher has to stay a little bit longer, we're not going to charge them the amount to try to work with them on those fees? I mean, to try to work with them because of the rate increase being so high? Yes?
So it won't be, what's the normal
It's going to
afternoon?
take that rate that we have for an employee, and it's going to divide it by the time that they're using it throughout the day. So
Okay.
it's going to be a rate of an hour, right? So if they're electing to use that hour, we're going to be looking at how we can charge them for only an hour. So instead of whatever their employee rate is, it's going to be divided by the time that they're going to contract with to go ahead and reduce and only pay for what they use as a benefit to being an HUSD employee.
Okay, you said that this was going out tomorrow to employees,
We're gonna be
but are
communicating.
you communicating that portion of it? Has that been fleshed out? Okay, I just wasn't sure that it.
Yep.
Board Member Schultz, we can share that letter with you guys this evening as well.
Okay, thank you. President Anderson, just to make sure I understand this, let's pretend, hypothetically speaking, that I was a high school teacher, and on Wednesday, my kid gets out of school at 1 o'clock, which is normally okay for me. I can get there a little bit after on regular days, but on Wednesdays, I would need, let's say, 3 hours instead of, if my kid stays till 5, then obviously I will pay that full rate at the 20%, but if I am only using an hour or two, then that's what I'm paying for. Is that the?
So the time that you use is what, based off of your employee rate,
Okay.
the time that you use is what you'll be charged.
Thank you.
President Anderson, Ms. McClellan, this question's for you. Because of that difference, would that require a separate vote because the rate is going to be different for employees and it's not included in our vote technically with this document?
Madam
No,
President,
I'm sorry.
That's okay, Mr. Armstrong. If you'd like to answer to give some factual information, please feel free.
Well, the rate, the employee is being charged the same amount. They're being charged their employee rate, which is that 20%. Okay? So their hourly rate is just taking the 20% and dividing it by the 3 hours that or the 4 hours that they're going to be using it per day. So they're still being charged their actual rate, but it's going to be charged hourly instead of it being the entire $14.80 for the entire day.
The $14.80 is for the length of time that it's open. So let's say it runs from 3:10 to, what is it, like 6 o'clock? Oh, look at me, I didn't even.
So for the whole time?
That's the normal time, yeah.
Okay.
So then that way, if I as a teacher can get there by 4, instead of paying for the whole day that I'm not using, I'm only paying what I'm using.
Got it, okay. Never mind, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. That was a fair question. Ms. Reese, did you have something?
I am also abstaining from this vote.
Sorry, President Anderson, real quick. One thing I just really would like to say is gratitude for that. I think it is really, really hard being up here, especially knowing that we have difficult decisions to make as things progress. Knowing that our override didn't pass and going forward, I am greatly appreciative of the fact that we do what we can here to try to help employees, and that genuinely matters, especially considering we're not the only district that is experiencing a failure in passing bonds or override. And so there are going to be a lot of things that are changing, and we need reasons to keep people here, and this shows that we care. So I'm appreciative of that.
Yes, and I guess to go along that line, I was a teacher back in the day at Chandler High with our first kid. That's why I quit, because I'd be bringing home, I think, a little over $100 back in that day. But so I appreciate you working and putting together assistance for staff in this manner. Okay, I motion that the governing board approve the proposed rates for community education kids clubs as attached.
Second.
That's Ms. Schultz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have one abstention. Motion carries 4 with 1 abstention. All right. What? We are on future agenda items. Does anyone have any requests? Yeah, Ms. Reese, yes. What would you like? No? All right. I motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Oh, Ms. Wade got it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Good night, everyone. Have a great break, and thank you for being a great community.